back in a hotel, things like that.
Welcome to today's Friday Forum. That's not Friday. Welcome to today's forum at the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Bill Welsh, and I have the honor of serving as treasurer of the City Club's Forum Foundation. The City Club of Cleveland was originally established in 1912 to encourage new ideas and a free exchange of thought. We are the oldest continuous free speech forum in the country, and we have a long and storied tradition of free speech exercised through public debate and discussion. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing a friend of the City Club who values not only our rich history, but also the important role the City Club plays as an educational venue in our region. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Dr. Morris Beveridge, President of Lakeland Community College, who will introduce today's speakers. Dr. Beveridge.
Thank you. It's great to see all the faces out there, especially the young faces. What a treat it is to have students join us for an event like this, and hopefully you'll find this as fascinating as I'm sure we all will. Our speaker today, Ewing Duncan, writes about and explains biotechnology. As a recovering accountant, that's a good thing for me. He is the best-selling author of 7 books, including Calendar, Humanity's Epic Struggle to Determine a True and Accurate Year, which was a bestseller in 14 countries and published in 19 languages. David is an award-winning journalist who has written for National Geographic, Fortune, MIT Technology Review, Atlantic Monthly, Smithsonian, Life, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the New York Times, among others. He has been a contributing editor to Wired and Discover, and is a columnist for Condé Nast Portfolio. In 2003, David won the prestigious Magazine Story of the Year Award from the American Association for the Advancement of Science. David has been a special correspondent and producer for ABC's Nightline and 2020, and he is the chief correspondent and co-host of NPR's Biotech Nation. At UC Berkeley, he is the director of the Center for Life Science Policy. Recently, he delved in even deeper into biotechnology by turning himself into a human guinea pig and becoming the experimental man. What he discovered about himself, our health, and our world will give us a glimpse of what the future holds for all of us. In his new book, The Experimental Man, What One Man's Body Reveals About His Future, Your Health, and Our Toxic World, David unravels the complexities of biotechnology while engaging us in how emerging biomedical technologies will impact our economy, our communities, and our personal lives. David offers us an enlightened look at the biotechnology revolution and the challenges and opportunities bioscience offers for our future. Joining David today will be Dr. Marc Pelletier and Elizabeth Sump. Dr. Pelletier is Vice President and Chief Science Officer of Aeromix LLC and an adjunct assistant professor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics at Case Western Reserve University. He is also the host of Futures in Biotech, a biotechnology podcast where he interviews leading scientists and Nobel laureates for This Week in Tech Network. Elizabeth Sump is the executive director of the Clinical Tissue Engineering Center, headquartered at the Cleveland Clinic. She is also chief commercialization officer for the Armed Forces Institute of Regenerative Medicine. She was formerly at NetGenetics, a Cleveland-based bioinformatics company, where she served as vice president of development. It's now my pleasure to present to you Mr. David Duncan.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the City Club for having me, and Karen Royer, who made all this possible, and everyone else who is involved. I'm here to talk just a few minutes about essentially a glimpse into the future. And one of the reviewers of the book, and I was very happy to get this review, called it a postcard from the future. And I'll go with that. That sounds good. Basically, I've set out with my reporting as a journalist to try to explain and learn as much as I can about what's called the age of personalized medicine, which is something that is upon us, perhaps not quite here. And what I mean by personalized medicine is the time when healthcare will be customized to each of us. And there are a number of ways this can go. It's treatments on the one hand, Right now, basically, we have a medicine that tends to be one size fits all. If you get sick, you get essentially the same treatments. But what science is beginning to allow us to do is to be able to customize treatments. A drug that might work for you, but not for someone else, or another different kind of treatment that might work for you and not for someone else. But what I'm particularly focusing on is not treatment, because I'm a healthy person. And I'm very happy to tell you that, and I hope I remain that way. But a part of this revolution that's happening, this paradigm shift, if you will, is predictive medicine and preventive medicine. And we've all heard those terms before, especially preventive medicine. But we're reaching a period here, and what I write about in the book and have studied over the last 2 or 3 years, is how close are we to actually being able to turn this paradigm around for healthcare, to take healthy people like me and hopefully you, and basically predict what might happen to us in the future based on clues that are hidden inside of our bodies. And before I go too far along, I do want to engage you all for a second, if that's okay. Okay, so everybody swallow. Are you ready? No, you aren't going to be asked to talk. How many people here, and you don't have to answer these if you don't feel comfortable, but how many people here have had a genetic test? Oh, okay, so you have a good group here on the stage. And by the way, for those on audio, no one raised their hand except for the people on the stage. And being in radio, I have to be talking to our radio audience as well. How many people have had an MRI brain scan? Anybody? Ooh, a few people over here. By the way, hello, high school students. It's good to see you guys here. A lot of them raised their hands. So we had a few people raise their hand. Now, this is an even trickier one. How many people have had a chemical body burden study? Does anybody even know what that is? Okay, you'll be finding out more about this. Nobody raised their hand for our audio audience out there. This is basically testing using blood and other materials in your body, hair, things like that, the level of chemicals inside your body. And these are environmental chemicals, mostly pollutants, things like pesticides, dioxins, things like that. And what I'd like to talk to you about here, those are all sections of the book. And essentially, while we all focus on genetics right now, and there's been actually an enormous amount of money and time and energy spent over the last several decades on producing all of the wonderful information that's come out of all of the genomics research, I think it's time, actually, that we take this a step further. And that's what I do in the book, because I don't want to know just about my genetics, the experimental man, the experimental woman. We want to know about what's in this for us, right? And we're a whole body. We're not just our genes. So in the book, it's divided into 4 sections: gene, environment, brain, and body. And it's a build-up throughout the book. It's not just each of those sections taken, parsed out. So the body is really where it all tries to come together. And I'm going to share with you here in just a few minutes just some stories from essentially the experiment. And then I want to circle back a little bit. I have started a new program at UC Berkeley called the Center for Life Science Policy. And this comes out of my reporting and being a commentator and seeing a need, actually, in the academic community to have more of a focus on policy issues. And this is the area, actually, that I report on, which I find very exciting. It's not just the science and the technology, but it's what happens next. And I'll briefly tell you a quick story about that, because I'm a historian and I always have to throw a little history into this. Not that you have to answer this, but I use the steam engine analogy about this. And I'll do this quickly, but does anyone know when the steam engine was invented? Any of you guys know over here? You're probably thinking 1700s, 1800s, something like that. Okay. It was actually invented in 70 AD.